My wife and her first love both fell into the frozen river and got trapped at the same time. Without hesitation, I chose to save my wife first, and in the end, her first love died unexpectedly. My wife hated me for that. On our wedding anniversary, she got me drunk, stabbed a dagger heavily into my heart, threw me into the frozen river, and said that she wanted me to taste the pain of her first love's death too. I died in despair, and when I opened my eyes again, I went back to the moment when my wife in the frozen river asked me to save her first love first. This time, I chose to do as she said and save her first love, leaving her to fend for herself. Don't worry about me, save Maxwell quickly. When I recovered from the intense pain in my heart and the endless cold, what I saw was Scarlett and her first love, Maxwell, crying for help in the frozen river. I remembered what Scarlett had done to me after I saved her first in my previous life, and without hesitation, I handed the life-saving stick to Maxwell. Quick, Maxwell, grab it, I'll pull you up. Okay, save me quickly. Maxwell was so scared that his whole body was trembling. Scarlett was willing to sacrifice her life to save Maxwell, but Maxwell didn't hesitate at all when faced with the chance. To survive that, she gave up. I didn't want to repeat the mistakes of my previous life. However, when Scarlett heard that I didn't hesitate to choose to save Maxwell first, I saw a hint of shock in her eyes. Suddenly, I felt it was ridiculous. In the previous life, it was she who said that she would rather sacrifice her own life to keep Maxwell alive. Why did Scarlett seem reluctant now? After I pulled Maxwell ashore, I pretended to be exhausted and fell to the ground, watching Scarlett crying for help desperately in the frozen river. However, the place where she was trapped in the frozen river was extremely dangerous. Everyone had their own families besides me, her husband, who would risk their lives to save her. What's more, the reason for this incident was that Scarlett insisted on going skating on the frozen river with Maxwell, even though the people around advised her that the ice layer of the frozen river hadn't frozen firmly yet. Scarlett and Maxwell just wouldn't listen and wanted to be romantic. Perhaps Scarlett wasn't fated to die. In the end, she still waited until the firefighters came. It's just that she had been in the frozen river for too long. By the time she was sent to the hospital, the doctor said that the nerves in her lower limbs had been frozen and damaged, and she couldn't walk anymore. When Scarlett heard this news, she burst into tears. Her family members came to me. Her eldest brother even accused me of not protecting his sister well and asked me to pay compensation. He pretended to be so concerned about his sister, but in fact, he just wanted to extort some money. Brother, at the edge of the frozen river. So many people heard that Scarlett asked me to save Maxwell first, so she got into trouble. If you really want compensation, before I could finish my words, Scarlett instantly defended Maxwell when she heard his name. Brother, don't go to Maxwell. I did all this willingly. As long as he's okay, I don't care what happens to me. I felt it was ridiculous and ironic. However, to Maxwell, Scarlett was an out-and-out bootlicker. She had been fawning over Maxwell since they were children, but Maxwell had always looked down on her. Later, he even went abroad to pursue a rich girl. However, that rich girl didn't like him, and he had to come back to China in disgrace. I was just Scarlett's backup choice when she couldn't wait for Maxwell. After Scarlett finished speaking, she ordered me arrogantly, Gabriel, give the money my brother asked for to him quickly, and also pay the medical bills for me and Maxwell. Where is there any money left at home? Scarlett, don't you forget that. It was you who said Maxwell wanted to start a business, so you gave all our family savings to Maxwell behind my back. I asked you for money to gamble a couple of times some time ago, and you pretended to be poor. Now you've given all the money to that bad guy. Scarlett's brother was always a reckless guy. Hearing what I said, he immediately slapped Scarlett on the hospital bed. Scarlett kept crying and looked at me with a pleading look, as if she hoped that I could protect her. But I wouldn't meddle in other people's business. I still remembered that in my previous life, every time Scarlett's eldest brother hit her, I would stop him and sometimes stand up for her. As a result, Scarlett stood on her brother's side instead, saying that I didn't respect her family member, that her brother hitting her was a family matter, that her brother could hit me and that I couldn't fight back. In my previous life, because I loved her as my wife and stood up for her, I was brutally killed by her. Even after being reborn, I still couldn't forget the cold look in her eyes when she killed me. Scarlett covered her face and cried, "Brother, I didn't mean it, but Maxwell is a very talented person. He will succeed in starting a business soon, and then he will give us a lot of money. Only you would believe a gigolo like Maxwell. No way, that freeloader dared to cheat you out of your money. I'm going to get it back right now." Scarlett's brother left angrily after saying that. Brother. Scarlett was lying on the hospital bed, and she anxiously ordered me, "Gabriel, you idiot. Why did you mention Maxwell's business of starting a business? Hurry up and go after my brother. Don't let him go to Maxwell, or I'll divorce you." Scarlett subconsciously mentioned divorce. I came from a divorced family, and since I had suffered from the pain of my parents' divorce since childhood, I cherished my family the most. Scarlett also knew my weakness, so she threatened me again and again with this weakness, but she wouldn't have thought that now I wouldn't be threatened by her anymore. Scarlett, since you mentioned divorce, I'll agree. What? Scarlett's eyes, she was full of shock. Obviously, she didn't expect that this threat wouldn't work and that I would really agree, but her tone was still arrogant. Gabriel, my legs are like this now. Are you still being petty? Can you stop being so unreasonable? Gabriel, I really want to tell you why you are always inferior to Maxwell in terms of reason. Facing Scarlett's accusations, I didn't answer but turned around and left anyway. Scarlett had always thought that I was an uneducated brute and didn't deserve her. At night, Scarlett started to call me frequently. When she made the 10th call, I finally answered it casually. After answering the call, I heard Scarlett on the other end of the phone. She seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, and then her tone became mean and cold again. Gabriel, what's the matter with you? Why haven't you paid the medical bills for me and Maxwell yet? The nurses have already come to urge you. I sneered. It seemed that Scarlett really regarded me as a sucker for Maxwell and her. I said coldly, Scarlett, you always said that I'm inferior to Maxwell in every way. Now that there's trouble, you should go to Maxwell instead. After that, I hung up the phone. The next day, I filed a divorce lawsuit in the court and demanded that Maxwell return all the 800,000 yuan of our marital property that Scarlett had transferred to him during our marriage. Sure enough, just a few days later, Maxwell, who didn't want to return the money, pushed Scarlett in a wheelchair to my home to find me. Perhaps, for Maxwell's sake, Scarlett surprisingly spoke to me in a warm and gentle tone. Gabriel, we're family. It'll be so ugly if we go to court. Maxwell said that once his company gets through this period, he'll return the 800,000 yuan to you with interest. Hearing Scarlett's words, Maxwell also quickly promised. Yeah, Gabriel, it's just 800,000 yuan. Don't be so stingy. After all, sneered, since General Manager Maxwell thinks it's a small amount of money, then why haven't you returned the 800,000 yuan yet? I wasn't worried that Maxwell wouldn't return the money. After all, I had already sued in the court and had already grasped all the evidence before Scarlett transferred the money to Maxwell during our marriage. Maxwell was choked by my words for a moment while Scarlett cried until her eyes were red as she looked at me. Gabriel, why do you always keep harping on these trifles and still want to divorce me? I tell you, it's impossible. I'm paralyzed now. The court won't rule that I divorce you. Gabriel, I advise you that it's okay to make a fuss about some things, or else the relationship between us as husband and wife over the years will never be restored. Scarlett threatened me about our relationship. I sneered. Scarlett, the relationship between us has already been completely destroyed by you. However, if you want me to withdraw the lawsuit and not sue Maxwell, it's okay, but only if you promise me one thing. Hearing this, Maxwell's eyes first lit up with hope. After all, his company needed that sum of money. Now, Scarlett also asked, what's the condition? Divorce me and give me the house and car at home, although these were all earned by me over the years. It would be very troublesome if I had a lawsuit with Scarlett. Just as she said, after all, Scarlett was now paralyzed in her lower limbs and couldn't take care of herself. You're dreaming, Scarlett said. In the wheelchair, she instinctively wanted to refuse, but Maxwell persuaded her. Scarlett, please just help me, okay? My company needs that sum of money now. Divorce him, and I'll be by your side. You didn't even care about your life, for me. I'll take good care of you, Maxwell said affectionately. Scarlett's eyes were moist. After all, Maxwell was her obsession and first love for many years. In the end, Scarlett chose to divorce me for Maxwell's sake. Only before she left did she still order me arrogantly, Gabriel, sometimes, if I'm hospitalized at Maxwell's place, I'll still come back to live at home. Do you understand? Yeah, I nodded. Seeing that I agreed, Scarlett seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. She was pushed away from my home by Maxwell. However, Scarlett didn't know that I didn't want the so-called home anymore, and she could never go back there either. After divorcing Scarlett, I quickly sold the house and the car, and changed my job, cutting off all connections related to her. However, I still didn't leave the city because I wanted to see with my own eyes whether Maxwell, who was in Scarlett's eyes the true love, could really love her forever when facing Scarlett, who was paralyzed in her lower limbs. Not long after that, Scarlett's eldest brother heard that Scarlett and I had divorced and immediately went to Maxwell to ask for money. After all, he had been addicted to gambling before and had always asked me for money. Of course, Maxwell refused to give him the money and directly called the police, accusing him of blackmail and sending him to the police station. 3 months later, when I was coming back from work, I saw Scarlett in a wheelchair appearing in front of me on the road. The moment she saw me, her eyes instantly turned red with grievance, and there was also a bit of longing in her words. I hadn't seen her for 3 months, and she looked a lot more haggard. There was an unpleasant smell on her. Gabriel, I finally found you. I turned around to leave, but Scarlett quickly turned the wheelchair and came to my side. Gabriel, where have you been during this time? I asked many people before I found you. Maxwell didn't care about me at all and just left me at home. When Scarlett mentioned Maxwell, there was already a hint of complaint in her voice. Honey, I miss you so much. Let's remarry. Scarlett struggled to catch up with me in the wheelchair, as if she was certain that I would agree to her request for remarriage. Seeing Scarlett asking me for remarriage as if she was going to do me a favor, I couldn't help but curl my lips and sneer. Scarlett, who do you think would want you in your current state? Say that about me. We're husband and wife. Scarlett burst into tears and sobbed. Husband and wife, we've already divorced. Have you forgotten? Now you and Maxwell are a couple? Just stay with your first love. After saying that, I turned around and left. Gabriel, don't be so heartless to me. Don't regret it. Scarlett shouted loudly from the wheelchair. However, she didn't know that the me who once loved her had already died. A few days later, Maxwell's company achieved initial success. Scarlett sent me a message to show off and also sent me a photo of her kissing Maxwell. Gabriel, I told you that if you don't cherish it, someone else will naturally cherish it for you. There's only one chance, and unfortunately, you've already missed it. Scarlett's words were like those of someone with chibu. Oh, wish you to a long and happy life. Together, I replied casually. After that, I focused on my work, and soon, because of my outstanding performance, I was promoted to the position of regional manager. But what I didn't expect was that Ethan, who had been released, found me and threatened me, demanding that I give him 500,000 yuan as compensation for his sister's lost youth, or else he would make it impossible for me to stay in the company. Did you hear that, Gabriel? I'm not joking. Ethan grabbed my collar, and his eyes were full of contempt. After all, I had always been a weakling in his eyes. What if I don't give it to you? There was coldness in my eyes. Ethan didn't seem to expect that I would think like this. He wanted to punch me hard in the face, but I kicked him away. I dragged him into a small alley beside us and gave him a good beating. In my previous life, if it hadn't been for Scarlett and our family, I wouldn't have tolerated Ethan, that gambler, for so long. Stop hitting me, Gabriel. I know I'm wrong. Ethan realized that he was no match for me and immediately started begging for mercy in a panic. After I beat Ethan and sent him to the hospital, Scarlett immediately called me angrily. Gabriel, what's the matter with you? How could you lay hands on my brother? He's my brother. Scarlett sounded extremely pitiful, as if she were the victim, and took it for granted, completely unaware that there was anything wrong with what she said. Oh, as you said, he's your brother, not mine, I said casually. Gabriel, how could you be like this? Aren't you afraid that I'll call the police? Scarlett threatened me. If there is such a thing as a devoted sister among women in this world, then Scarlett is a genuine brother-protecting demon. Since I married Scarlett, it seemed that I had become an ox that worked hard without complaint and a money-making tool for the Scarlett family. In my previous life, I dreamed of having a child of my own, but before I died, Scarlett told me that she had actually been taking contraceptives all along. It was given to her by her parents just because they were afraid that after I had my own child, I wouldn't wholeheartedly work for her family anymore. I hated the Scarlett family to the core. Scarlett, don't slander people randomly. Do you have any evidence that my brother and I were just having a little scuffle between men? Why are you making a big fuss out of it? After I finished speaking, Scarlett was so angry that she smashed a vase. On the other end of the phone, the call was hung up. A few days later, I saw that both on my mobile phone and in the newspapers. People were singing the praises of Maxwell's deep affection and righteousness. Even though Scarlett, as his girlfriend, was already paralyzed in her lower limbs, he still stayed by her side. In the video, Maxwell took care of her without complaint. He carried her out of the wheelchair, massaged her legs, and wiped her body. He was simply a model of a good man. Scarlett looked touched, with tears in her eyes. The reporter was also moved and kept praising that there were not many good men like Maxwell anymore. Scarlett also said, in bed, "Yes, it's my luck to meet Maxwell. Unlike my ex-husband, as soon as he heard that I was paralyzed, he immediately divorced me and made me leave the house empty. When I was in despair, I even thought about death. But then, I met Maxwell. He confessed his feelings to me when I got divorced. He said that he would love me no matter what happened to me. General Manager Maxwell is really a good man. But Scarlett, your ex-husband is really too much. As the saying goes, a couple should be kind to each other for 100 days. After just one day of marriage, how could he treat you like this?" The reporter said indignantly, "It doesn't matter, and I still want to thank him. If it weren't for his heartlessness, how could I have the chance to take care of Scarlett?" Maxwell said affectionately. After the reporter went back, they released the video of interviewing them. And the stock price of Maxwell's startup company immediately skyrocketed. I was quickly found out by enthusiastic media. Countless people on the internet gave me bad reviews. Oh my God, it's already a new era. How could there still be such a scummy man as Scarlett's ex-husband? Ugh, it's just disgusting. Ugh, ugh. Scarlett's ex-husband is simply the king of scumbags, even if he disliked Scarlett because she couldn't walk and wanted a divorce. There was no need to be so extreme and make her leave the house empty-handed. The public opinion criticizing me on the internet grew louder and louder. But what I didn't expect was that at this critical moment, Scarlett actually chose to expose my photos. In an instant, all my real name information was dug out by enthusiastic media. I called Scarlett, and my tone was solemn. "Scarlett, do you have to be like this? Do you really have to go to such extremes?" After I finished speaking, Scarlett suddenly laughed strangely on the other end of the phone. "Gabriel, you sold our house, right? Gabriel, you bastard. You clearly promised me before that you would let me come back home, but now you've sold our home." Hearing what Scarlett said, I didn't feel any turmoil inside. I just said calmly, "Scarlett, it was you who didn't want this home first. You now have the first love that you couldn't have for so many years. Shouldn't you be happier than losing the home that was just an empty shell for you before?" After I finished speaking, Scarlett's voice on the other end of the phone suddenly became excited. "I'm not happy. Gabriel, don't think I don't know the reason you wanted to divorce me was just because you disliked me for becoming but it's all because of you. If you had saved me first that day in the frozen river, I wouldn't be paralyzed at all." Scarlett's words of shifting the blame made my mind go blank for a moment. If I did as she asked and saved Maxwell, it was my fault. If I didn't, it was still my fault. Selfish people probably have a unique way of thinking. My voice was sarcastic. "Scarlett, are you having a bad memory? It was clearly you who said that I should save Maxwell first." "Yes, it was me who said it," Scarlett cried, with tears streaming down her face. "But Gabriel, don't you love me? Since you love me, why didn't you save me first? I've become like this today, and it's all your fault. Gabriel, I won't let you off since you were nice to me. Why couldn't you be nice to me forever? From now on, I want you to live in hell every day. That's the price for you abandoning me." Scarlett's words were filled with intense hatred for me. "Oh, we'll see." I shook my head. It was all because she forced me to this point. For the sake of hype, Maxwell proposed to Scarlett soon, and on that day, countless media rushed to report it. How heartwarming the marriage between Scarlett and Maxwell really makes my cold heart believe in love again. I wish Scarlett that all the hardships are over and that she and General Manager Maxwell will be happy for a lifetime. I read these messages of blessings from Nyson. Then, on the second day after Scarlett and Maxwell got married, I decided to give them a wedding gift. The next day, I also registered a social media account on an online platform. I uploaded the video of Scarlett and Maxwell trapped in the frozen river. In the video, Scarlett's loud voice, shouting, "Save Maxwell first," was deafening. I also posted the photos and evidence of my marriage with Scarlett over the years. The ambiguous relationship between Scarlett and Maxwell during their marriage, and the fact that Scarlett often stayed out all night at Maxwell's house. The evidence that Scarlett transferred 800,000 yuan of our joint property during our marriage to Maxwell behind my back was all posted online. My revelations immediately caused a huge stir on the internet. Scarlett and Maxwell immediately sent messages saying that all the evidence I revealed was fabricated. I remained calm and also posted the materials of my lawsuit in court at that time and the conclusive evidence of Scarlett's transfer to Maxwell online. Nissan then commented one after another, "Oh my God. The more I follow this gossip, the more shocking it gets. It turns out that when Scarlett wasn't paralyzed yet, she gave Maxwell 800. What kind of family is this? She gave all the family savings to her friend at once. What kind of friend? Upstairs, I bet Scarlett had an affair with Maxwell even before she got divorced. Didn't you notice how loudly Scarlett asked Gabriel to save Maxwell when they were trapped in the frozen river? TSK, TSK, TSK. I really sympathized with Gabriel. When he was with Scarlett, he must have had a lot of cuckoldry on his head. Right. The public opinion of Nissan took a U-turn. First of all, Maxwell's startup company was affected, and its stock price dropped. Scarlett and Ethan, seeing that the current situation was unfavorable to them, immediately sent messages to me, wanting to make peace with me. "Gabriel, for the sake of our past relationship as husband and wife, don't be so ruthless." Okay. Scarlett was pushed in a wheelchair by Maxwell and blocked at my doorstep. "Yeah, Gabriel, I know I'm wrong. I told Scarlett at that time to let bygones be bygones and not to drag you into this. This stupid woman wouldn't listen. Now look, she's caused such a big mess." When Maxwell said this, he gave Scarlett a fierce glare. When Scarlett met Maxwell's gaze, there was an instant instinctive fear in the bottom of her eyes. Only then did I notice that there were purple and blue marks from being pinched and strangulation marks on her hands and neck. Seeing Scarlett in such a miserable state, I could almost guess where the marks on her body came from. After all, Maxwell's mother was not easy to get along with. In my previous life, because of Scarlett's fawning over Maxwell, Maxwell's mother had always looked down on Scarlett. Now that Scarlett was paralyzed and in the hands of Maxwell's mother, how could she be treated well? But what I didn't understand was why Scarlett was so afraid of Maxwell. Impossible. Scarlett, Maxwell, you two really have a good plan. Now you want me to tell Madison that the evidence is fake. Isn't that clearly trying to shift all the blame onto me? I curled my lips coldly. Maxwell's face became uglier and uglier, and Scarlett's eyes immediately became anxious. Gabriel, what are you doing? Why can't you just swallow your pride a little and stop harping on these trifles? Scarlett said shamelessly, which almost made me laugh. Why should I sacrifice myself for you two scumbags? Are you crazy? After saying that, I left directly. When I walked a little farther away, I suddenly heard Scarlett crying and begging for mercy. However, I didn't look back. Anyway, everything that was happening now was what Scarlett had asked for. It was all her own doing. At night, I received a call from Scarlett. On the phone, she begged me for help. Gabriel, please don't hang up. Save me. Please, I beg you to save me. Maxwell is not a human being at all. He said that, if I can't handle this online matter, he'll beat me to death. Scarlett's voice was filled with fear. I was silent for a moment and then said, Scarlett, we're already divorced. If there's anything you can't accept, you can call the police for help. After saying that, I hung up. Phone. The next day, to my surprise, with the fermentation of this online incident, a bombshell about Maxwell's marital infidelity was also exposed. Facing the camera, Maxwell looked grieved. He thought that marrying Scarlett was already a great kindness to her, and it didn't matter if he had affairs with other women. This incident completely broke the relationship between Scarlett and Maxwell. Not long after that, Scarlett posted a video of Maxwell's domestic violence against her on the social media platform. In the video, Maxwell beat Scarlett for half an hour. You useless piece of devou can't even move your legs, yet you still dare to rely on me. Do you know how many people laughed at me because I married you? Why don't you just die? Maxwell kicked Scarlett to the ground and kept kicking her head hard. It was obvious that he was trying to kill her. Scarlett, you're a disaster. A jinx? Why didn't you die in the frozen river back then? Maxwell's words completely enraged Scarlett. Scarlett cried until her eyes were red and her face was covered with tears. She accused him in the video. Maxwell, do you have any conscience? If it weren't for saving you back then, how could I have become like this useless person? Maxwell's response was particularly shameless. Oh really? Did I ask you to save me? Scarlett, you're just cheap and insisted on saving me. After saying that, Maxwell kicked Scarlett's head again. Such brutal domestic violence immediately caused a sensation on the internet. After being posted, Maxwell was also arrested by the local public security organs. His career was greatly affected, and his company was on the verge of bankruptcy. Neeson commented that only a wicked person can deal with another wicked person. To my surprise, Scarlett still had the nerve to come to me in the company. Scarlett sat in the wheelchair, crying pitifully, Gabriel, I regret it. I shouldn't have married that beast. Maxwell, in this world, only you are the one who loves me the most. Scarlett came to my office and looked at me with tears streaming down her face. At this moment, I saw a bone-deep sense of regret in her eyes. But so what if she regretted it? I would never forgive her. Scarlett, don't you think it's too late for you to say these words? You've already hurt me, and I'll never forgive you, I said to Scarlett. But then Scarlett said something that shocked me beyond belief. No, Gabriel, I know you may not believe it, but I'm reborn. I know which stocks will rise and which will fall in the future, and I also know where the houses will have a high appreciation. Gabriel, as long as you forgive me, I can help you become a rich man in this world. No, the richest man. Scarlett's eyes were full of the eagerness to beg for my forgiveness. You're reborn. Yes, Scarlett. I nodded. I looked at Scarlett sitting in the wheelchair in front of me and suddenly remembered the scene in my previous life, when she stabbed me in the heart and then threw me, who was barely alive, into the icy river. The coldness in her eyes was as terrifying as that of a devil. Scarlett's eyes stared at me as if she didn't want to miss any expression on my face. I pretended to be flustered and said, how is that possible? Scarlett, do you really think I'm stupid? Rebirth is impossible. Get out of here. For some reason, when Scarlett heard me say this, she suddenly seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Gabriel, it's true. When Maxwell hit me, I hit my head on the corner of the table. Then when I woke up, I found that I was reborn. Scarlett grabbed the corner of my clothes as if she had grasped her last lifeline. Gabriel, please save me. Now only you can help me. I know I'm wrong. This world is so bad. If I had known that Gabriel was such a scumbag, I should have just let him die in the frozen river back then. Scarlett said this and burst into tears. Oh Scarlett, then what were you like before you were reborn? I asked knowingly. When Scarlett heard me mention things from our past life, there was a hint of panic and guilt in her eyes as she looked at me. Scarlett, what happened between us in our past life? I continued to ask. Dan, our past life, we must have lived happily together. For a lifetime. As soon as I finished speaking, Scarlett suddenly covered her head, choking back sobs and getting very emotional. No, Gabriel, I beg you, please don't say any more. I'm sorry to you in our past life, but I know I'm wrong in this life. Gabriel, Please give me one more chance. Maybe my rebirth is also a chance given to me by God to let us start anew. Scarlett looked at me, hope filling her eyes. I sneered and took off the coat that Scarlett had touched and threw it into the trash can. Gabriel, why are you treating me like this? I really know I'm wrong. Scarlett cried. Just because you're wrong, should I forgive you? Scarlett, what's your logic? Who do you think you are? After saying that, I left the office. Scarlett was so anxious to chase after me that she fell heavily to the ground after tumbling out of the wheelchair. The colleagues around gathered curiously beside her. Gabriel, don't go. I beg you, I really can't lose you. Scarlett cried and called my name on the ground. I didn't look back and resolutely turned around and left. At night, Scarlett sent me messages using different numbers. Gabriel, do you still remember the scene when we first met? At that time, you were driving and saw me fainted by the roadside. At that time, no one around cared about me. Only you got out of the car without hesitation and took me to the hospital. You said that you fell in love with me at first sight when you saw me for the first time. Gabriel, why can't we go back to the beginning and start over again? The messages Scarlett sent me were so sincere, but they made me feel annoyed. I typed a reply. Scarlett, if I could be reborn at that time, I wouldn't save you again. People like you don't deserve to be saved. To avoid Scarlett, I applied for working from home and also moved house. I heard from my friends that Scarlett was looking for me like crazy and even posted on the online platform that she knew she was wrong and wanted to remarry me. The Nyson who had been played by her and Maxwell once were now extremely upright in their values. I saw that there were all kinds of bad comments about Scarlett under her account. Come on, lady, how dare you? You cheated on your ex-husband during your marriage. Now that you're paralyzed, you still want him to come back and take care of you. Yeah, Scarlett, you can't have all the things in this world to yourself. One can't be too selfish in life. Scarlett replied to the Nyson in the comments section. You're talking nonsense. You don't understand at all how much Gabriel loves me. Seeing this comment from Scarlett, I almost laughed. I didn't know where Scarlett got all this confidence from. Even more dramatic was that after Maxwell was released from the detention center, he actually started to pursue Scarlett again and used this as a gimmick to operate his own account. In the video, he stood at home looking affectionate. Scarlett, I'm wrong. The reason I laid hands on you was just playful banter between husband and wife. I just couldn't control myself for a moment. Please give me one more chance. I will definitely give you a happy life. I have to say that it's no wonder Scarlett liked Maxwell so much in her past life. To some extent, they were quite similar. Both were equally selfish and had no sense of morality. They always thought that, as long as they apologized, the harm would disappear and others must forgive them. Surprisingly, Scarlett, who had condemned Maxwell on social media some time ago, actually forgave him. This made the Nyson criticize her even more harshly. There's still such a woman with no self-respect. Scarlett, wake up. Domestic violence happens either once or countless times. Yeah, blogger, and you can't use Nyson as your weapon when you're being beaten and then go back to the man just because he coaxes you with a few words. With your attitude, who else would he beat if not you? However, for some reason, no matter how earnestly the Nyson advised her, Scarlett still wouldn't listen, and started showing off her sweetness with Maxwell on social media. As a man, I knew for sure that Maxwell wouldn't change so easily. After all, it's hard to change one's nature. Not long after that, Scarlett posted the news on the internet that she was pregnant. Every day in the videos she showed off how Maxwell had realized his mistakes and changed. Now, in fact, before forgiving Maxwell, Scarlett also sent me a message. She asked me if we could start over again, and I firmly refused. She told me that she was pregnant and that for the sake of the child, she was willing to give Maxwell another chance. I didn't reply. Everyone's fate is their own, just like in my past. Last life, I also paid the price of my life for my stupid infatuation. I applied to the company for a job opportunity to develop my career abroad. Since I was reborn, I didn't want to trap myself in this place. I wanted to live my own life again. In the few days before I was about to leave, I didn't expect that something would happen to Scarlett. Her child died in the womb after Maxwell got drunk and committed domestic violence. Once, in the video, I saw Scarlett covering her stomach, looking agitated, crying to the nurses about everything she had encountered. But this time, instead of getting comfort, she received sarcastic remarks from the nurses. Oh, it's okay if the child is gone, sister. Cheer up, just have another one with your husband. Yeah, hitting is a sign of affection, and scolding is a sign of love. It's normal for husband and wife to have quarrels. Maxwell is not a good guy, but you just like his fists. Almost all the comments on the internet were sarcastic towards Scarlett, and Scarlett's family didn't care about her at all. They were so patriarchal and thought that daughters were a liability. How could they care about her? I saw Scarlett acting like a madwoman on the internet every day and couldn't help but feel dazed. After all this fuss, was this the life Scarlett wanted? On the night before I was about to go abroad, It was raining heavily outside, and there was a knock on the door. I opened the door and saw Scarlett. She was holding an axe in her hand, and her eyes looked extremely terrifying. I frowned and was just about to ask her what she was doing when Scarlett suddenly said, "Gabriel, you're lying to me, right? In fact, you're also reborn, right?" Hearing Scarlett's words, I didn't say anything and just looked at her quietly. "Gabriel, then why didn't you save me this time?" Scarlett stared straight at me. The heavy rain drenched her long hair, making her look rather terrifying. I looked at Scarlett. "Scarlett, wasn't saving Maxwell always your wish? I was just helping you fulfill it. But I don't need your help. Maxwell is an He's ruined everything. For me, he deserves to die." Scarlett was highly agitated, and she gripped the axe in her hand tighter and tighter. I secretly became on guard, but my eyes were still fixed on her. "Scarlett, do you know the river water that day was so cold? I still can't forget it even now." "Gabriel." Scarlett was stunned when she heard me say this. "I'm sorry. I'm the stupidest person in the world. I killed the man who loved me the most because of that scumbag. I'm sorry." After saying that, Scarlett pushed her wheelchair and left my house. The next day, the police came to me, and then I learned that Scarlett had taken advantage of Maxwell's drunkenness and killed him directly with a kitchen knife. It was Maxwell's mother who noticed something was wrong the next day and went to Maxwell's home. That was when she realized something was amiss and called the police. After that day, the police searched for Scarlett for a long time and in many places, but there was no trace of her. Everyone thought that ... Scarlett had hidden herself in some deserted place until her bloated corpse was fished out of the river. Only then did the police finally close the case. No one claimed Scarlett's ashes. I boarded the plane to go abroad as scheduled, flying towards my new beginning. 5 years later, when I came back, I had already brought back my Chinese wife, whom I met abroad, and she had given birth to a lovely son for me. The haze of the past finally cleared away in my heart at this moment, like the clouds parting to reveal the bright moon.